Andy Shield once again, this time bringing you our next installment of the legislative branch of the federal government, the powers of Congress. We're going to have a multimedia presentation and go twofold with you here as we talk about the different powers of Congress. The ones that we want to highlight and make greatest mention of are promoting the general welfare, providing for national defense, establishing justice, the unlisted powers of Congress, and the non-legislative powers of Congress. Examples of this would be promoting the general welfare as looking out as for all the citizens of the nation as a whole. We talked prior to this about the national versus local needs. Well, promoting the general welfare is taking all Americans into consideration, and establishing the minimum wage is a very good example of promoting the general welfare and one of those duties that the Congress would do. And providing for the national defense, not only do they create and actually establish the Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, Coast Guard, and National Guard, they have the ability of declaring war on other nations. This is a misconception by most people, thinking that the President of the United States has that. They can have executive orders to attack countries, but not declaring war. Declaring war is done by the United States Congress. Establishing justice, they created the court system. The Congress did. The Congress created and provided for the courts. They also have the ability to impeach elected officials, removing presidents, removing Supreme Court justices from their seats and offices for violating laws or anything that would really entail being impeached. Unlisted powers. There are a lot of just implied or inherent powers of the Congress, one of which is coining money. Yes, the money that we put in our pockets is established by the United States Congress. And a non-legislative power that they may have, which they have the ability to do, is conduct investigations. Many of us recently, if you're a sports fan, have been watching the Congress investigate steroid abuse in Major League Baseball. Well, that was done in Washington, D.C. by the United States Congress. Now, if we go over here to the PowerPoint, we'll go through this a little bit in some more detail, maybe outlining some of the greater aspects of it. What are the express powers of Congress? And one that's very important for us to always remember is that the Congress has the ability to tax citizens. Yes, the government needs money, and the Congress will make sure that that government gets money through the citizens paying their taxes. Taxes are those public funds that go for government use. And the Congress is very, very adamant about keeping this tax code intact. And it's so important because, we use tax money for public services, such as the military, for roads, for the government bailout of the banking and automotive industries, for schools. This is how these things are funded, and we are very reliant on Congress's ability to make that happen. Congress will regulate commerce. That is one of the promoting the general welfare aspects that is so important. They can create treaties or trade embargoes and working with other foreign nations to make the United States a more competitive economy, which obviously promotes the general welfare of citizens. And we said before, setting a minimum wage and establishing tax on exports or imports. And as we said before, the United States government and the Congress, not just the United States government, but the Congress coins money. They've established this money, the paper money, coin money. All the money that we use as our form of currency has been established by the United States Congress as well. And here's what the money looked like back in the day. Some of it, is somewhat similar to what we have now, but obviously changes have been made. Not only do they print the money, they regulate the worth of that money. So a $5 bill is worth a $5 bill in the United States, and as closely as it possibly can to the greater values of other currencies around the world, some of our competition in their competitive forms of money. Congress also can borrow money. There is no ceiling on that. They can borrow money from really themselves, creating money and creating a national debt, obviously, if they borrow money. But with no constitutional ceiling on how much money you can borrow, who's to really say and oversee who pays this debt? Well, it's Congress themselves once again. So not only are they spending the money, they are also the individuals overseeing their own spending and borrowing, which has a lot of Americans, many Americans, distressed about because they see no end to this spending. Congress also will establish the uniform rule of naturalization. That is, becoming a U.S. citizen. What does it take to become a U.S. citizen? The Congress has decided these parameters. And obviously, if you're born in the United States, you are a natural citizen, but you must become naturalized if you aren't. The Congress can buy property. They can create territories like the Guam, Puerto Rico, and the Virgin Islands. They can build or establish naval bases like Guantanamo Bay. And they can establish national parks, federal prisons, and also foreign embassies around the globe. So as you can see, the Congress and the legislative branch has a lot of responsibility and a lot of power. They have judicial powers like creating the Supreme Court and the entire federal court system. They define the federal crimes and punishments. Yes, in fact, if somebody needs to be impeached, removed from a government office, like the President of the United States, which has only happened twice in our history with Presidents Andrew Johnson and Bill Clinton, they can do so. Foreign relations, they approve treaties, they declare war. When we talk about a treaty, an agreement with a foreign country that is approved by Congress first, may be established by a president, but approved by Congress. They declare war on other nations. They've established the military. Regulating immigration and protecting our government, our borders of our country is yet another responsibility that Congress takes. And moving forward, this is obviously a very big topic today with our border with Mexico being of great concern and consideration by Congress. They have the ability, if no candidate is a majority of the electoral vote for the president, the House will select the president and the Senate will select the vice president. So if we can't properly elect our executive leaders, the Congress will establish those leaders. Constitutional amendments, changes to our Constitution, are approved by a 2/3 vote in Congress. So they can actually change our laws as well. So as you can see, the impeachment process and bringing charges against and convicting, which is done by the Senate. There's our two presidents that have been impeached before. The executive powers of the Senate, approving these treaties, approving presidential appointments, conducting investigations like the steroid investigation of Major League Baseball. These are the powers of Congress. There are very, very many of them. Congress is a very, very powerful element, and it is not almost remiss to say, if not even controversial, that Congress is the most powerful element of the federal government. Powers of Congress.